Hello, I am Mr.Clean, and today we're going to talk about the first games you should play when you get your VR headset. So you're new to VR and you've just got yourself your first VR headset, a Quest 2 nonetheless. Ooh, it's beautiful, and you're thinking to yourself, I know, I'm going to play the most intense game I've ever seen because I've seen a million YouTube videos on it. Yeah, so it can go bad pretty quickly, which is why I've made this video today for new people getting into virtual reality. These are some of the games that you should definitely try and experience for your first VR games, because that way you can sort of wean yourself into virtual reality and get yourself used to it, or as we call it, getting your VR legs, because then you'll be more comfortable in virtual reality and you'll actually stand a chance of playing all of these excellent games and not feeling sick, getting nauseous, or any other way of explaining this. So trust me when I say these are the games that you should be checking out prior to jumping into anything too extreme. I'm also going to tell you a few tips and tricks in this video to help you out in your first few days of getting into virtual reality. Now, when you get your Quest and turn it on for the first time, you are going to be met with some freaking demos. Now, those demos, to be fair to Meta, Oculus Quest, Facebook, they have done a very good job of handpicking a good number of titles for you to go and experience. Things like Superhot, Creed and Beat Saber, all good games to experience for your first time in virtual reality, because they're quite stationary games. They're things that will get you moving, they're things that get you grooving, but they will not get you actually moving in virtual reality. You'll be nice and stationary, which means you're going to feel better about using those experiences, because you're not going to be using any real locomotion in those games, and that is the key to gaining your super powered VR legs. Or just a tolerance, you know, either one really works. Now, the reason I picked these games for you today is because these are the kind of games that are going to really help you wean into VR and also get used to being in virtual reality, therefore stopping the motion sickness and also gaining you your VR legs to help you really just experience virtual reality to its best, and then you'll be able to get into some more intense stuff a little bit later down the line. Doing it this way just really leads to a better all-round experience. If you start off in virtual reality getting sick and feeling poorly, likeliness is you're going to get put off of doing it, and you won't realize how freaking awesome it can actually be if you just kind of do it in the right way. So I've broken these games down into sections. We're going to begin off with rhythm games, because rhythm games are a really good way to break yourself in on VR, because you're nice and stationary in the real world and you also have no artificial locomotion in those games, no joystick movements or anything, so there's nothing really to throw you off kilter and make you feel motion sickness. Therefore, they're the perfect games to begin your VR journey in. Number one on this list really has to be Beat Saber. It's like probably the best selling game in virtual reality for a very good reason, because most people that are getting into VR tend to pick up this game because it's one of those things that they've seen a million times on all social medias, and it's also a really solid game. So in this game, you're going to be slicing and dicing blocks with your lightsabers. Next up, we have Pistol Whip. This is one of those games that genuinely makes you feel like John Wick and is going to give you the sensation of being a freaking badass in virtual reality, whilst also keeping your lunch down. So it's a win-win situation. In this game, it's another rhythm game where you're going to get through, pow pow pow, shoot a bunch of people and sort of go through the level, but in a very comfortable and easy to deal with manner. Yeah, that's a drum set apparently. You should definitely check out Smash Drums. Or another option, if you don't want to slice and dice stuff or shoot stuff, is Smash Drums, a fantastic rhythm-based game that honestly is freaking awesome. I'm not just saying that because I have my own personal drum set in it or anything, but I do freaking love this game, and if you want to get in and have that freaking feeling of being an absolute rock star, then Smash Drums is going to be for you. In this one, again, a super comfortable game for all levels of VR users, whether you are a hardcore user or whether you are brand new. Smash Drums is a fantastic option for you to get into and be one of the first games that you're going to play in VR. Also, tons of music in there, so you can get in there and really lose yourself to a bunch of content. Multiplayer's in there as well, so you can go play with your friends. So if you're getting into virtual reality and you want to hang out with someone but you don't want to do something too intensive, you can do this, because then you can have a laugh with a mate and play some freaking cool music at the same time. Next up, we're going to move into the puzzler section of things. If you want to get into a puzzle game and again have that low locomotion, nice and easy experience, then I have got some treats for you in this part of the list. First up, we have the I Expect You to Die series. Now, these are some of my absolute all-time favorite games, and they are fantastic fantastic for showing people virtual reality the very first time. This is the kind of game that I would personally pick if you're going to put your nan in virtual reality for the first time, because it's so easy to feel comfortable in a game like this. First of all, it's a seated experience, which is really good if you're getting into VR for the first time, and secondly, it's just a very solid game all in all. In this, you're going to go in as a secret agent and try and solve the puzzles and mysteries as you go through it, whilst dying a lot. As it's you know, in the title, they expect you to die in this game, so you will, and it'll be fun. Next up, we have Red Matter. This is another puzzle solving story based game which will have you going through a ton of different stuff. They have a load of locomotion options, which means you will be able to be as comfortable as humanly possible in this game whilst experiencing something that is a really nice solid story, giving you 3 to 4 hours gameplay. Also one of the most visually stunning games on the Quest 2, so it's kind of like a whole package deal if you want to get in and experience a story and a bit of puzzle solving and a little bit of minor creepies. Next up, we have another game that I'm going to throw in, but it didn't really fit in with any of the other genres or things that I wanted to talk about, and I'm just going to throw it out there to you as something that you should experience, and that is Little Cities VR. If you want to get in and experience a city builder in virtual reality, in my opinion, there is no better than Little Cities. It truly is one of the best experiences that you can have in virtual reality, and super comfortable for early users to virtual reality. Next up on the list, we have exciting titles. The ones that are going to get your adrenaline pumping and get you freaking hyped, but also keep the lunch down. As we keep coming back to, it's important that you're going to be nice and comfortable in these experiences, and this is why I picked these ones out, because they are very exciting and adrenaline filled, but they're nice and easy on you. First up on the list, we have The Climb 1 and 2. Both of these games are freaking phenomenal. They look insanely beautiful on the Quest, and they are exactly what they say on the tin. A climbing game. But there's a lot more to these games, as they are very thrilling and exciting to get into and do, because you have to jump between the holds, you got to think about what you're doing, and there is a ton of freaking content in both of these games. I fully recommend that you try these out if you're new to VR, as they will give you a genuinely amazing experience. And if you're like me and a little bit freaked out by heights, then this is kind of a nice adrenaline one, because you will be fooled and you will find that immersion level in virtual reality that you can't find in any other type of gaming, because it will genuinely trigger that fear, and it's kind of awesome because you can't actually die while doing this. Bonus. Next up is Phantom Covert Ops. Now this game is freaking incredible. In this game you're going to be riding around in a kayak, so again a nice seated experience, which I think is a fantastic excuse to jump into this game, as it is insanely comfortable to get into. Also, the main voice actor in this is none other than the guy who voiced Solid Snake. Very cool. In this game is a stealthy shooter where you're going to go around and have to do a bunch of freaking epic stealthy stuff as a covert ops officer, dude, soldier, man, army guy. Yeah. Anyway, this is one of those really pretty games on the Quest 2, which is going to give you a ton of content to get involved in, and that, my friends, is worth every single penny. Now that is pretty much going to cover the games that I want to talk about, the things that you should get into whilst in virtual reality. I've tried to give you a nice wide array of things that are going to suit most people's needs or wants out of virtual reality as their first experiences. Honestly, I just urge you to pick up 1 or 2 of these titles as you get into VR, because it's really going to just give you the most solid experience. After you've done this for a couple of weeks, you're going to start feeling a bit more normal about using VR, and you're going to start getting that time in VR and getting comfortable. At that point, well then just take it easy, pick out games and pick the ones that you think are going to be comfortable. That's where this next tip comes in, which is check the comfort rating. Comfort ratings. Now comfort ratings is a very important one, especially for you newer VR users coming into VR. Please pay attention to this bit because it will save your butt. Now, when you're in the store, you'll be able to scroll down past the options and you will see a comfort rating. There is a wide variety of different comfort ratings. I put them on screen for you so you can see them now. Make sure that you pay attention to these, because if you're newer and you're not strong VR-legged yet, then trust me when I say this will save you some money, because you may not enjoy the experience if it's too extreme. So go for a little bit of something a little bit more comfortable to start with, and then work your way up the comfort rating until you feel a bit more comfortable. The next tip I've got for you is stay hydrated. Stay hydrated, kids! It's freaking important, and it's so easy to forget to drink when you're in virtual reality. A couple of hours session can go by, you haven't had a sippy sip, and you are perspirating because you're probably hot while you're in there. the most important thing is to stay hydrated, because it'll make you feel better and you won't feel like crap as you go through your virtual reality experience. So stay hydrated, that's important. The next one sounds obvious, but it's take breaks. Now, if you start to feel at all motion sickness, if you feel even remotely funky, then stop what you're doing, take the headset off and have that break. The worst thing you can do, and I can tell you from experience, is try and push through it. Do not try and push through feeling funky or motion sickness at all in virtual reality. Don't try and push through it. It will only lead to you feeling really, really crappy, and you're just going to have like a couple of hours after of feeling pretty rubbish of just laying down and getting over the motion sickness. It's no different to being on like a boat or something like that. If you feel motion sickness, the more you push it, the worse it gets. So just stop. Take a break and come back to it in a few hours when you're feeling better. Before we wrap up this video, know that there is a ton of extra stuff that you can find out in my little tips and tricks video that will be up there in the card. If you click that link, you will go to that video and it will teach you a bunch of awesome stuff about the Quest 2. I'll also try and link it down below in the description so that you have that. Apparently, that was a really hard sentence to say. Definitely not the third time I've recorded it. Anyway, that'll do us for this video. I hope that this has helped you out, and I hope that this has helped you find a few games that are really useful to get into in your early days of virtual reality, just to kind of get used to it. And just remember, take it slow. If you feel a bit sick, just stop. Just freaking stop. The last thing you want to do is have a bad experience for your first time in VR, or even your 5th or 6th time. You just don't want to have that really janky experience where you feel crap, because it will just put you off coming back in. Really, you want to have the best time you possibly can, and then when you move on to advanced games, you're gonna love it. Trust me, we've all been there. There is not a VR person out there that hasn't had to break that barrier. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, smash like. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll always do my best to get back to you. And if you're new to the channel, then hey, subscribe. And if you're new to VR, subscribe here, because I play all the new games and I'll give you all the new useful stuff that you need to know right here on this channel.